Okay, so it has finally come the day where I sit down and I give you guys the story on how I lost 150 pounds. But first, let's go ahead and make a coffee so that we can go and sit outside because it's nice and warm. For my iced coffee, I'm going to use white chocolate mocha coffee creamer, and I'm also bought this cold foam creamer to try it. It's white chocolate macadamia. It's made out of oat milk. So let's see what comes out of it. That's just coffee. I haven't even put anything in it. It's ready, so let's go sit outside and tell you the story. Excuse me, Chinaman. You're gonna share it with me? Okay, perfect. What a better way to start off my story by saying hi and welcome once again. As some of you know, my name is Sue. Well, my name is Susan. Everybody calls me Sue. It has become my nickname over the past, I want to say, 7 or 8 years. So, this is a story on how I lost 150 pounds. So I was a very skinny kid, and I started gaining weight after I turned, I want to say 18 or 19, and I had my first job. I was working at a Wendy's, and they're about to start barking. Oh no. Okay, sorry about that. My dog decided that it was okay to start barking all of a sudden. But nevertheless, so I started gaining weight when I was about 18. I used to weigh about 160 pounds at the time. I used to believe that I was overweight. And because I was working at a Wendy's and it was free food, basically I would eat as much as I wanted, and I ended up gaining about, I want to say about 40 to 45 pounds within the first 2 years of me working there. And honestly, when you put out the first 10 pounds and then the second 20 pounds, and you don't honestly believe that it is not that much until you look at yourself in the mirror once. So, and when I say when I was around 20, 21, I was in a really unhealthy relationship, and the person that I was with at the time, it was very abusive, and that led me to even let myself go even more. So I ended up gaining about, I want to say, another 20 to 30 pounds. So at this point, I am almost 21. I am weighing somewhere between 220 to 30 pounds. And I just couldn't face myself or help myself to lose weight. So after many times of thinking and making decisions and deciding whatnot, I decided to end the relationship. It was a bad breakup, but nevertheless, that's not why we're here. I decided that I needed to start working on myself, and at that time, I stopped drinking soda. I stopped eating fast food, even though that I was still working at a fast food place. So it was very hard for me to control myself, but I was still drinking. So I decided to stop drinking soda and stop eating fast food and eating any junk food. And within diet and exercise, I believe I lost somewhere between 20 and 30 pounds, and that made me feel really good. Now, mind you, I was eating straight salads and drinking just sweet tea for a year and a half. So I was down to probably, I want to say, about 200 pounds. And at the time, I was like, oh no, like it's not that bad. It's just another phase, which it was not. I started to dedicate some time. As I was saying, at that time, I met my husband. It was early 2011. I wouldn't say probably late 2010. I wouldn't give him the time of day because he was in a relationship, or he was getting out of a relationship, and I had just gotten out of a relationship as well. So therefore, I decided that it was just time for me to just be friends. Fast forward to early or late 2011, he invited me on a date, and I was still very skeptical because I didn't want to be involved with anybody. But nevertheless, I said, why not? Let's go ahead and go out on a date. We went to the movies, and ever since then, here we are. It's 2025. We have been together all these years. We started officially dating in 2012. So January of this year made 13 years that we have been together. And like I said, that's another story for another day. When I started dating my husband, I want to say I was about 205, 210. And I always said, oh, I was very uncomfortable with my weight, but he didn't care. He said he was fine with that. And at the time, I seemed okay because I had found somebody that loved me for who I was and not because of the way that I looked. And our favorite thing to do is go out and eat, and that is basically what we used to do every single time. And without realizing, I started gaining weight once again. But you know, I was like, no, maybe I should stop. And when I finally decided that I wanted to stop gaining weight, we realized that we were pregnant with our daughter. And yeah, that was it for that. But nevertheless, my daughter was born in February of 2014, and I fell into a big depression. I had lost my job at that time. I was a stay-at-home mom, and things were very rough at that moment. And I didn't realize that I kept gaining more weight until one day in early 2016, I want to say, I reached out to a friend of mine at the time. She was doing Herbalife, and I was like, hey, oh my God, you look so great. What are you doing? And she was like, oh no, I'm doing Herbalife. And I was like, oh my God, can you please teach me, or show me the way? And we talked, and a week later, I had gotten I had ordered all the products, I had gotten everything, and I started doing Herbalife. Now, mind you, at the time that I started doing Herbalife, I was about 230 pounds, and I did Herbalife from, I want to say, like mid-March 2016 all the way down to November of 2016. And as you can see in this photo right here, I lost about 50 pounds, which at the time I felt so great. I felt better than before, and I was finally starting to feel comfortable with my weight. And then I stopped because we had decided that we wanted to start trying for another kid. But before at the time, mind you, this is late 2016, and at the time or a lot of people used to say, oh my God, if you're trying to get pregnant, you should stop doing Herbalife because this is like, the products are really bad if you're trying to conceive. So I stopped. Now, mind you, when I stopped, I was able to maintain the weight off, and then 2 months later, I actually found out that we had been able to conceive, and I was pregnant with my son. Uh, so my son was born in 2017, late October 2017. And by the time that my son was born, and throughout my pregnancy, at the beginning of the pregnancy, I lost a lot of weight because I had to get an emergency surgery, and I just wouldn't eat anything, wouldn't drink anything. Basically, I was just living off water and air. And by the time the last 4 months of my pregnancy, that is when all the weight piled up, and I was back to a whopping 250 pounds. At the time, I wouldn't believe, I believed that it wasn't that much because it was pregnancy weight, and I was I had a really rough pregnancy, and I was okay with it. And my husband was like, take your time, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. So I had my son, and within a month of having my son, I was able to lose about 30 pounds. But then again, that's baby weight, the liquids and fluids that you carry inside because of pregnancy. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting my confidence back. And as you can see, I was like, this is it. I'm going to start going on a healthy journey. Now, fast forward to I wouldn't say it was maybe 3 or 4 months into 2018. I was talking to a friend of mine, and at the time she was like, oh my God, have you heard about keto? And I was like, no, but if it doesn't involve in buying products, then maybe I will give it, the time of day. And she was like, no, basically all you have to do is just not eat any carbs. And I was like, sign me up. So when I started doing keto, I was 224 pounds, and I lost 40 pounds doing keto. So I was back to 190 pounds, 180-ish pounds per se. And I was very happy. And I was able to do keto all the way to the end of 2018. Now, at late 2018, in December, I lost a very close family member. And I want to say it was like 45 days later, I lost another family member who meant a lot to me, and that was my grandma. I lost my grandma in January of 2019 and my aunt in December of 2018. And for me, that was very rough. And therefore, I stopped doing keto. I fell into a really big depression, and I went to my comfort place, which it was food once again. And that led me to gain basically every single ounce that I had lost doing keto. It took me about almost a whole year to get out of that place where I was in a very dark spot, and I didn't want to just I didn't want to enjoy life. I didn't want to just do anything. I just wanted to be in bed crying or eating food. And I neglected myself, and I completely became very selfish. I forgot that I had kids, and I had a husband, and I had his family to support me. And late in 2019, I said that it was enough was enough, and that I needed to get out of that funk. And therefore, I went back to Herbalife because it had worked out the best for me. So we are in 2019. I decided that I wouldn't go back to doing Herbalife because it was what had worked for me prior. And honestly speaking, I did it for about, I want to say I did it for about 3 months. But unfortunately, we were mid-COVID, and at the time, financially, that was not something that we were able to finance fully. Besides buying groceries for the house, the kids, my husband, and therefore I said that we had other priorities, and we couldn't just afford to be doing Herbalife. plus everything else because it was mid-COVID. So therefore we stopped. Now, mind you, mid-COVID, I learned about gastric sleeve surgery and gastric bypass. And at the time, I was very skeptical. I said, "Oh my God, no!" Because what if you lose your life? I started reading online, and there were so many risks. And I said, "It's just a no for me." And due to COVID and the lockup and being home, not being able to go anywhere, um, I gained an insane amount of weight, and that is when I hit my biggest weight gain up to date, and I was a whopping 285, 200 and almost 290 pounds. And that is when I said enough was enough for me. I really didn't want it to keep being the fat, overweight friend. As you can see in this photo right here, this photo was my turning point. And mind you, this photo was on a Saturday. That following Monday, I was calling a doctor to schedule a consultation. Now, for my gastric sleeve surgery, I went with Dr. De La Cruz in Florida, in University of Miami, and that was the consultation. At first, it was very thorough. He gave me a run through of everything and every risk, every possible scenario that would happen. Thank you. With the surgery. Excuse me. Now, I contacted his office, I want to say in early 2021, and he was fully booked to even give me a consultation, I believe, until like mid 2021. So I'm talking about, I believe I had my first consultation with his office. I want to say it was like June, but I can recall properly. At the time of my first consultation, it was a lot to take in. And also we were in the process of moving states, and I sort of neglected that a little bit. We just left it on the side, didn't give it as much priority until we were finished moving. Now, once we finished moving, I contacted his office again, and they were able to schedule me for the consultation. And literally, I did went through insurance, so I didn't have to pay. I had to pay $950 out of pocket in order for me to get surgery, but that was basically it. So I went, I got the first consultation, and then I met the nutrologist, I met the psychiatrist, because you do have to submit to psychiatrist test in order to get the surgery, because they want to analyze that nobody's pressuring you, that you're not depressed, or that you're not getting the surgery for a different reason that is not obvious to the doctor per se. So we were able to get all the process completed by, I want to say, September of 2021, and we were actually able to schedule my surgery for that same. Okay, so I had to change locations because my phone kept falling. It's extremely windy outside, and it's just a lot going on. But I had my surgery in November of 2021, and within the first year of my surgery, I lost 90 pounds. Within the second year, I lost another additional 30 to 35 pounds, and the last 25 pounds I lost past year. I have been able to maintain my lost weight by doing a calorie deficit and watching the intake of the amount of food that I eat, which I still cannot eat more than 5 ounces every time that I eat due to the gastric sleeve surgery. Now, I do not drink any soda. I control the amount of processed food or unhealthy foods that I eat by eating homemade foods mainly, and by not eating any fast food or any processed food. out there. But this is my story on how I lost 150 pounds, and I hope you guys follow along. For more, I will be uploading several videos on the foods that I eat, what I don't eat, and how you are able to track your macros if you are doing like keto, and how to minimize the processed foods or the carbs that you take or the sugars, because when you do keto you learn to eat sort of healthy, and when you do Herbalife you eat very healthy, portion size wise. But nevertheless, I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.